Welcome to Tansson TV Plus. I'm Brandon,
And I'm Mom.
and thank you so much for joining us here today.
Yep, thank you for joining us again today.
Yeah, we always love doing this. And Mom, how are you doing today?
I am doing just fine, Brandon. Thank you so much for asking. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. And Mom, we're in another month.
Yep, we sure are, Brandon. What are we going to talk about this month?
So for March 2025, we'll be talking about television sitcom restructures, revivals, and sequels.
That sounds great, Brandon. And we're beginning this month with The Golden Palace.
Yes, and The Golden Palace is a sequel series and continuation of the series The Golden Girls.
Yes, and I'm going to give their audience just a little bit of information in regards to the transition of this TV show. So, The Golden Girls was, of course, the TV show about four older women who live together. And the Golden Palace kind of takes place right afterwards. And so what has occurred is that Dorothy has gotten married. And now the girls have decided that they want to try to manage a hotel. So they are leaving their house, meaning they've sold their house, and they are moving to this hotel so that they can manage it. And on the first particular episode, we see the transition between both shows. We see that, like I said, that the girls have moved on from their house. We see them arrive at the new hotel, and we see some of the challenges that they face during the first few weeks in which it's opened.
Well, Mom, thank you so much for that.
You are welcome, Brandon.
And Mom, first of all, before we get into some of the specifics of this of the series and the pilot episode, what did you think about the pilot?
The pilot itself, I absolutely loved it. I mean, of the three of us, meaning your dad, you and I, sat down and laughed nonstop. I have seen the pilot before. I've seen it several times. I watched The Golden Girls. I watched The Golden Palace when it was on. I'll be quite honest, I didn't remember all the episodes of The Golden Palace, but watching it again, I still laughed.
Yeah, I certainly enjoyed it, and I think what's nice about it is that it does exactly what the show was intended to do. It took the concept of the Golden Girls and was able to continue it into a new format.
Yep, they did. They did. And then they built on the knowledge that you did have of the Golden Girls itself, of the four girls, to kind of enhance the show also.
Yeah, and I will say for those who are tuning in and haven't seen the rest of the month, so all month we're going to be speaking about different shows that attempt to sort of revitalize themselves, whether as a new series or continuing with a previous one. But I think for this one, it does such a great job of sort of refreshing things, but they're still the same familiar characters that we know.
Yep, they are. They are the same familiar characters. And what was nice is they actually brought them over having the same personality as they did in the other series. Sometimes we have seen in some of the shows that we've watched where they kind of changed their personality or the traits of the characters. In this one, they just brought them right over. And then even with you and I talked about Dorothy and how even though Dorothy's not there, her presence and her personality presence is still there. It's just like they distributed some of her characteristics to some of the other characters.
Yeah, and did you want to speak a little bit about that and where we sort of saw some of these characters shift a little bit between the end of the Golden Girls and now here on episode 1 of the Golden Palace?
Yeah, on the Golden Girls itself, Dorothy was the character who was very strong. She was opinionated, but she was a very strong character or a strong person. And so each of the girls, of course, exhibit some sort of trait, their personality traits. And so that leadership, it would appear, would be missing for the Golden Palace. But in fact, what they've done is they've given some of those traits to Blanche. And so they've kind of let her be the leader with the group. And so I thought they did that very nicely. And then they have a gentleman in there also, Roland. And so, because he has managed this particular hotel before, he also has some of those traits that Dorothy would have also.
Yeah, and the quick-witted nature that Dorothy normally has is now with Rose.
Yeah, I mean Dorothy. I mean Rose has always been kind of quick, but the smartness doesn't always go with it with Rose. And this time they kind of showed that she did have she does have the wit and the intelligence to go along with it.
Yeah, and the show even makes a joke of that, saying that Rose is not as dumb as people make her out to believe. We think.
Yeah, she does, and yeah, that's that. At the beginning of the show, we do see that that comes out.
And something that I noticed within this first episode too is we see a lot of Blanche sort of being the picked on character, so to speak.
Yeah, we do. But in the other series, like Dorothy was picked on, and so the fact that Blanche was picked on, that doesn't make any bearing at all.
But overall, I feel like this is actually a really good evolution for the show because whereas the characters largely stayed with the same traits throughout the entirety of the Golden Girls, now we get to see some of the evolution, like they've grown and evolved and learned from each other over the years. And I feel like it's so believable because, I mean, people really rub off on you and can influence you a little bit. So I like that in the absence of Dorothy, the other characters have assumed Dorothy traits.
Yep, I did too. I really did too.
And Mom, did you want to speak a little bit as to what exactly happened in the transition from the end of that series to now this one?
Yeah, at the end of the series, Dorothy does, and this is aired on the Golden Girls. Dorothy does get married, which means that the three girls are left to live alone, and that includes Rose and Blanche, and then Dorothy's mother, Sophia. And so, what they've done is they have moved these three characters to this hotel so that they're kind of picking up their life and moving it on a little further. And so, I think at some point in time they make a mention about showing their purpose, and Sophia makes a comment that she has another purpose now, that she's there to kind of as an older person, because they did establish that she was 87, that she has another purpose that she could serve now that she has this new role.
Yeah, and something that I like about this that I think is interesting is whereas the Golden Girls ended on its own accord, that when season 7 ended, they didn't leave anything lingering, like the show actually truly ended. But they used this first episode of the Golden Palace to actually end out the what happened to the Golden Girls before they move on to the new premise.
Yeah, and they did a really nice job with that, even showing their old house. I thought they did a great job of kind of showing and then going back over everything that kind of happened previously. And they did it really quickly, so they didn't linger a lot. They didn't linger with it. It just they were really quick to tell the audience what is going on.
Now, what I thought was interesting about this was Rose was making such a big deal about the house is her life and that everything that she has belongs to the house. But isn't the house Blanche's house?
Yep, the house is Blanche's house. Although they did have one episode in the Golden Girls where they claimed that they would all share the house and share the ownership. Now it was only done in one episode, and later episodes kind of indicate that it was still Blanche's house. But yeah, that one episode kind of showed that they did all have ownership in the house.
Yes, I certainly thought that was interesting, but I like that they all sort of agreed that they need to move on, move forward, and yeah. But we were introduced to some new characters in the Golden Palace as well, in addition to the Legacy Golden Girls characters.
Yep, we were introduced to a character named Roland, who is actually a foster parent to a child named Oliver. But Roland is actually he's the manager of this particular hotel. And then we're also introduced to a young man named Chewy, and he actually is the cook or chef in the kitchen, which actually becomes a little bit of a foil with Sophia, because Sophia also thinks she is the chef or cook of this particular kitchen.
Yeah, and the staff believes that they're coming in. These new owners are coming in with loads of experience, and the Golden Girls are coming in thinking that they have a giant hotel with lots of profits. But apparently they're wrong.
Yep, they're very wrong. They're very wrong. Apparently, the hotel is not doing well at all, and so they only have about a week or so in order to turn the hotel around.
But thankfully for them, Blanche has a lot of experience running a house.
Yeah, quote unquote. Yes.
But yeah, so it's certainly interesting. And what do you think of the dynamics with these new characters?
I thought they fit right in really well. I mean, sometimes it's forced when you see new characters come into a show, but at this time, because they changed the premise per se in regards to the setting, um, I think it helped in this case. And so because you could have had the girls still living at home going to work, but I like that they took it out of their home and they put them in a new place altogether, which kind of helped these particular characters kind of blend right in.
Yeah, and I like that they weren't really copies of like a copy of Dorothy, for instance, but instead they were sort of their own characters that could bounce off really well. I mean, you have Roland, who himself is sort of a leader character, but unlike Dorothy, is that he sort of can hold his own a little bit more, and that he actually has like experience that the others don't have. Even for Oliver, I feel like he is able to add an interesting dynamic with some of the other characters in the sense that um, that yes, he may be young, but he does actually have still experience that the girls do not have. And then Chewie, I feel like is a great, interesting foil for Sophia.
Yep, actually, Brandon, I completely agree with everything that you said. I thought they did a great job of integrating all the characters together.
Yeah, and I like that they didn't try to make it where, that they're all happy and friendly, all episode one, uh, yeah, at the beginning, but had it where like they clashed at first.
Yeah, they did, especially Chewie and Sophia. I think that's where you saw the clash. And but I like the way they kind of worked it out at the end, where they will work together to kind of make the hotel succeed.
Yeah, and I like that even though it wasn't ideal, that they're working to make it happen, and that I think that this really brought new life to these characters, and I feel was in some ways actually for me a little bit more enjoyable than just repeatedly watching Golden Girls reruns. That you actually get to see them do something that they haven't done before.
Yeah, it was very fresh. It really is fresh. And like I said, when I started watching it again, I thoroughly enjoyed the episodes.
And yeah, and Mom, is there anything else that you want to discuss for this, and or anything that stood out within this first episode?
No, there's not anything else that I could think of that stood out because I think we've done a great job explaining everything that's kind of going on with the store. I think we've done a great job of kind of explaining the differences between the two shows. I will just say that I thought that for creativity purposes, that the show's writers, producers, they did a great job of maintaining the continuity and maintaining the integrity of the characters.
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, even though the show unfortunately only ran for 24 episodes, it nevertheless was an enjoyable run. And Mom, would you watch The Golden Palace again?
I would, Brandon, and I have. So yes, I will continue watching the Golden Palace. What about you, Brand?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think I've only seen the episodes once, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Some episodes I've seen certain scenes, numerous times over, but this may have been my second or third time watching this first episode. But I would absolutely continue watching. And Mom, something I think that we notice within a lot of these new shows that are based off of older ones is some similarities, whether it be with the title or the theme song. And so, what are some of the similarities between the two?
Well, first of all, theme song. Let's talk about that. I absolutely loved it. I love the Golden Girls theme song. This one is almost the same, and so I thought they did a really nice job. It's catchy. I like the little the video that goes along with it. So I thought they did a really nice job. One of the things that I did write down a couple things that I noticed that they kind of kept the same as with the original show, but they actually gave some explanation. One of the things at the end, although this didn't necessarily happen every time on the Golden Girls, but at the end they had everyone sitting around the table and they talked about cheesecake and how important it was for them to actually have a conversation and have cheesecake at the same time. And I thought keeping that common thread between them was very important. And they even poked a little fun at it. And then the other thing was St. Olaf. At the beginning of the episode, they did ask for, they meaning I think it was, I can't remember if it's Blanche or Sophia, but they asked for Rose not to talk about St. Olaf. And then at the end, she said, oh, now I could talk about St. Olaf. And I thought that was really cute the way they kind of tied that in. So I like that they kept those two threads together. And they did a nice job of doing that.
Yeah, I mean, I think they did a great job with that. And even the title, The Golden Palace, it keeps with the same naming convention of the Golden Girls, but it changes it up a little bit.
Yes, it does. It does. No, I was going to ask if you noticed anything that was similar.
Well, something that I thought was kind of fun was that at the beginning, not only did we start off with Blanche's house, but we got the same musical theme that we would hear in the Golden Girls between the scenes. And then throughout the Golden Palace, we get sometimes that same scene, but sometimes a different remix of it.
Yeah, that's really great.
And something that I want to share a little bit from the behind the scenes is between the ending of the Golden Girls and the beginning of the Golden Palace is that they actually switch networks.
And that's interesting that they were able to, especially since switching networks, that they were able to keep, some of the same songs and things like that. Because sometimes that doesn't occur when shows switch networks.
But yeah, so after 7 years on NBC, the Golden Palace is on CBS, but with the same producers of Whit Thomas Harris and Touchstone Television.
All right. And Brandon, do we have, besides, of course, the obvious, do we have any other connections between with the Golden Palace?
Yes, we do. We actually have two.
Oh, what's that?
So first of all, the production company Whit Thomas Harris, they produce, of course, the Golden Girls. But Mom, do you remember whatever show they produce?
No. Okay. No, I don't.
Yeah. So in addition to the Golden Girls and the Golden Palace, Whit Thomas Harris also produces Benson.
Oh, yes, of course. Of course. And what's the other connection, Brandon?
The other connection is with Don Cheadle, who plays Roland.
And where do we know him from?
So he plays the narrator of Older Dean on the new series, The Wonder Years.
Oh, wow. Well, and that one, Brandon, I really didn't realize.
But yeah, so it's always fun being able to look at these connections. And I will note too, even though the show only lasted one season on CBS, is that they never resolved what happens with the end of the show, but the character Sophia did continue on.
Yes, I do remember that. She continued on an empty nest, if I remember
That's correct.
correctly. All right. That is great. That's great. So I can't wait to hear what our viewers think about the Golden Palace and the connection with the Golden Girls.
Yeah, and if there's anything that you're excited to see for this month or for this video, just let us know. I mean, I've been looking forward to this for quite a while, and so I can't wait to see what we have in store for the month of March.
I can't wait until you let me know what we're watching next. And then just to give my ratings, as we kind of talked about previously, I've been trying to rate the shows 1 to 5, 5 being the highest. And I actually give the Golden Palace a 5 because I really loved it. I laughed nonstop. So I will give it credit.
And I will agree with you, and I will also give it a 5.
Excellent. Well, we thank everybody for watching today.
Yeah, we definitely do.
All right. And we'll see you next time.
Have a wonderful day.
All right. Bye bye, everybody.